And that brings us to map 5. Voyelle. Voyelle? I don't really know how it's pronounced. The Voyelle, the Magic Library. This thing. This thing. So this is the kind of the first map I'd consider actually hard, and I'm kind of delaying entering because of this. This is the first map that really has a bigger scale than just walk through linear forest path. It's the first attempt to be somewhat ambitious in a map, and oh boy, does it show. Both in the attempt and in the fact, both in the ambition and in the fact that it was my first attempt. Okay, so rather than development process, I'm going to first talk strategy because I'm executing kind of a very precise strategy here to try and explain what everything I'm doing is somewhat difficult. First of all, certain fairies hang out on the ground and don't fly. Your goal is snipe those out all as quickly as possible. If it flies, you can kind of deal with them. You can't really if they don't. Like these guys. Take them out early. Grab these two, activate this, but don't go into the books themselves. There's a reason for that. Everything's planned here. So, this isn't actually the only method that works, but this is my crazy swag strat that's invented by my brother, who is Touhou Doom's primary tester. And, oh my god, I'm so happy this works. And yeah, with this, you can actually use... Okay, good. And you can use the bookshelves as cover to circle strafe them. Because fundamentally... Oh, geez. I leave a couple of these guys alive. And that's why you kind of need to kill the ground people. Because the problem is that if you leave those guys alive, they spawn a mess of bullets. You can't really run away. Because all the ground enemies in this tend to shoot in rings. Whereas the flyers tend to aim at you. And if they aim at you... Basically, if it is aimed, if it can be aimed, it can be misdirected. That brings us to Bucks. One of the least favorite sections in EOSD, the game that this stage is based off, and I'm not gonna lie, this is also kind of obnoxious. God, why did I give these guys so much health? These guys also have limited health, so limited shots. So eventually, if you let them shoot long enough, they will just expire. But if you want to, you can kill them by shooting them as well. And that was a really good phase 1. That, it normally does not go that well. And yeah, don't try to run through the corridor while it's currently firing. Oh yeah, the original version of this was great. Originally these guys were all invisible, so you just had to guess where the books were when trying to shoot them down. They also at that phase had 1 health, so they were also a lot more fragile. This phase is a lot more faithful though. You can see where they are, and in return, they are obnoxiously tanky for something that is that everywhere. So, oh yeah, make sure you don't get caught in the book corridor behind Koakuma. This is Midboss Koakuma. She's not too hard, but she does have a lot of health. Looks intimidating. Don't get too scared here. It's not that hard. Like that. That's the first half of the map. So to talk about this map, so phase 2, I'm not going to lie, I don't have as much tactical advice. It's crazier, and it's just a lot more all over. Yeah, I don't even need the extra health. It's a lot harder and tactically crazier, but I won't have as much commentary because there isn't really as much strategy to describe aside from remember your fundamentals. So, this map is a bit of funny design because it's actually based on a real-world library. I forget which one. And it was one of those things where I was stuck on this map for so long when I got here because, again, I didn't know how to map. I had no idea what I was doing, and I was just like, what do I do? And it was another fellow modder in the community. His name is Term. He goes by Term. Terminus S13. Terminus Est13, and it's Latin, so the S is not, in fact, A. It's not French. And as a result, this map can partially be... you can partially thank him for this map, and by extension, the rest of the project finishing. These little walkways weren't here originally. Those were added as a convenience measure just because, well... I didn't want to force awkward platforming, especially not over this jump. And these teleporters are added later. This teleporter sends you right over there, and this teleporter sends you over here. So the skylight turns purple, and we enter the last part of the stage, and that brings us to this fight. And you can see, even now, still using the chain gun. It's a very powerful sniping tool. And yeah, this is a pretty good last place to show it off. What do you mean last place? Future maps are much more oriented towards the chain gun, or towards the plasma rifle. And when I say that, you'll see what I mean very quickly. Overall, the scale of this map was overdoing it. It was a giant pain to design, and I don't actually feel a desire to design anything on this scale for just an ordinary stage again. With that in mind, that is the end of the stage. And it doesn't tell you where the red key is, but you'll wander around. Eventually you'll find out that it's here. So, this brings us to the boss fight of an already... This boss, Patchouli, was a giant, giant pain to design. Oh my god. That is because of a gimmick that I will explain during the fight, but I will not showcase because it's a bit of a pain to showcase it. I'll explain actually the showcase during the fight, weirdly enough, because it's easier to explain what the gimmick is there. So, with that in mind, yeah, Patchouli was a giant nightmare. Patchouli's patterns are a lot more complex than Mailing's before her, and as a result, I really had to push the limits of what I could do in Decorate. So, I'm actually using the Super Shotgun for this first phase for a reason, which is that I want to save my plasma for the spell cards. You see, on Lunatic, Patchouli has a lot of them. So, Patchouli's first main gimmick of Patchouli's fight is that he has randomized spell card usage. Every phase, the first spell card is a random pick of one of 5. And that means the second card is then the next card is also random based on the first. So the third spell card, however, is always a combination of the first two. So as you see, I got Agni Radiance, the fire spell card, followed by Earth Sign, and then I got Lava Cromlich. That, in turn, the next spell card will be another combined element spell card that shares an element with Patchouli's first card, and the second element, and the second or last spell card, which she only uses if you're on Lunatic, is going to be a card that shares an element with her second. This is being Earth was my second spell card, so this is Metal Earth Sign. As a result, it's hard to showcase this gimmick. And yeah, on Lunatic mode, you need to save your cell ammo, because otherwise you don't want to run out of cells at the last spell card. It's rough. So as you could guess, that means there's a lot more spell cards that you didn't see here, and I had to implement all of those, and none of the patterns were easy. And just remember, I have to implement all 4 difficulties. Absolute nightmare, and I basically swore off doing this gimmick again because I have how much I hated it. It was such a pain. Arguably worth it, but never again. That's map 5, and that is map 5.